321 Central traffic stop.
21.
I'll be on East Green, right outside Henry County, 911 dispatch.
321 status.
Hello viewers, welcome to the second episode of Bridges. Last week we discussed about how policing and the community could come together. I'm your host, Officer Sohaib Yusuf. I'm with Houston Police Department, and alongside me I have Commander Bashir from HPD Midwest Division. Captain, how are you doing today?
I'm excited to be here.
Excellent.
All right.
So today we have a different kind of a show. There is a recent trend in a crime called jugging, and it has started to target various parts of the community, and we wanted to bring that to you. So we're about to show you a video. Some may find it very disturbing. We would like to advise caution for the video because it shows the aspect of what could happen if a jugging could take place. We'd like you to watch the video, and then after that we'll go into the video itself and see what's going on and discuss the different elements that took place within the video. Okay, Commander, you've seen the video now. And
Yes, I have.
It's kind of a horrible situation, so
Yeah.
let's walk through it. Let's walk our viewers through it.
Okay.
So let's go to the video. You've got multiple suspects. You've got two cars, and they're just violently trying to go after the bag.
Now, on the surface, it may look like a robbery gone bad, where two individuals are attacking two, hardworking citizens. But as officers and investigators, we want to know what happened. When did this all start? So this is the prime example of what we were talking about today's topic is jugging. Okay, what is jugging? Where did you get this term from? What does it mean? So jugging is a term used to describe suspects who sit in bank parking lots and watch customers go in and out of the bank. Okay, seems very simple. The suspect followed the customers they believe are in possession of cash, just like our video. Do you know how much money they had?
How much money was it? No, I was told.
$75,000.
That's a huge,
Yes.
that's a huge amount.
And some people are willing to kill somebody for that amount of money. As you saw the video, the viewers, you saw that the female, she was actually got ran over, but she survived.
Okay.
And
Okay,
this
that's good to
incident
know.
was very violent. In addition to that, what the suspect do is they follow the customers they believe are in possession of cash. And they look for an opportunity to burglarize their vehicle or attack, like we just this video, attack very violently because they want that money. And in a nutshell, this is what jugging means. A jugging incident is, but it also incorporates if a person is leaving a check cashing place or leaving a gun, a shooting range, because they just want the cash. They also want the guns so they can use it for their criminal elements, criminal crimes. Jugging. Okay, this is a very interesting word. Where did you get the word jugging from? It's a very strange word. It almost rhymes with juggler.
Yeah,
Jugging.
exactly.
Like somebody has three balls jugging in the air. But actually, this is not a term we use. This is actually the term that suspects came up with.
Oh.
Jugging is a street slang or terminology for bank bags used to carry money.
Okay.
I remember when I first had a part-time job, one of the things the owners would do at a convenience store is he would have a bank, and the bank, I mean, the man, he would have a bag. On the bag, it was the name of the bank, and you will see the owner going to the bank, carrying the money from over previous night, going to the bank, and the suspect started figuring it out. Hey, there's money inside. And that's when they started organizing and started going after this specific type of crimes. Now, let me ask you a question. Why would you go after people going to the bank? Why?
Well, let's switch gears.
Okay, let's switch
आप
it.
बैंक जाते हैं,
Yeah.
you go to a bank, आप बैंक से पैसे निकालते हैं, ठीक है, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, $5,000 निकालते हैं बैंक से, ठीक है, आप कहीं और जाते हैं, आपकी गाड़ी में भरा हुआ है. For a criminal, it's very easy to go inside your car, get that money, and have a payday.
Yeah.
Very easy. It's for what, 30 minutes of work,
Yeah.
40 minutes of work, you just got paid a decent amount of money. So from what we know and throughout the department, a lot of money, in fact, in the millions, transfers back and forth between juggers.
Yes, like you said, it's not, you may think it's one customer, a customer. Okay, let's say एक customer से उनको $500 मिल गए हैं. अब आप वो multiply करें 500, अगर 5 जने एक दिन में हैं मिल गए, that's 2,500. But that's not how much money to get away. But if you compound that over a year, like you just said, which is not, now these are very conservative numbers, millions of dollars in cash, transferring from good, hardworking citizens to criminals. Okay, this money is going to criminals, and what is cash is better or stolen product?
Yeah.
Stolen goods.
Yeah.
Obviously, cash is better
Yeah, absolutely.
because you can easily use it, and it's hard to trace, and that's why they continue to do so. But here's why we are talking about this topic today. Because most of the people these criminals target are people who look like you, look like me, and who are hardworking, business owners, and they are followed. Especially, they are followed, and they are to their business or to their home, and that's where they attack and get their money. Most of the customers are from Pakistan, India, or Vietnam, or Chinese, because they are, according to the suspect, they are considered easy targets, easy picking, and that's why they continue to do so. Did you know? Okay, even though we were talking about jugging today, the first time that I became aware of jugging was 16 years ago, when we had a bank where most of the customers were Pakistani, and the suspect would follow them and commit the crime. And the bank manager complained to my captain, back then I was an officer, about what was happening with the customers. So what happened was, since I was the only Pakistani, they told me to work as a bait officer, which means work undercover. And I remember I dressed like, Pakistani clothes. I went to the bank, and what did you know? Just like that, they were following me, and we ended up catching them. This is 16 years ago. But the crooks have become much more sophisticated. Now they just don't do it in Houston. They're doing it in other states like Florida, Orlando, all the way to California, and up north all the way to even Canada, where they're spreading their criminal enterprise because they know that they know this is easy picking and they can get away with it. But we are always going to be, catching up to them, catching up, and we're not going to give up. We're going to make sure that we catch them all the time. So I'm glad we're doing this show because we want to bring awareness to the Pakistani community, the Indian community about this crime. So next time when they go to the bank, they can be more aware of the situation and look for signs for, hey, this person may not be maybe up to no good.
Yeah.
And that's something we're going to discuss in a few minutes.
Yeah, and one of the things that we'd like to go on with the viewers is I have been part of jugging investigations in quite a number of times. That one thing that we've noticed is it is very frequent, more so frequent than you would understand. ये रोज होता है, हर घंटे में एक या दो बैंक्स के पास जाते हैं क्योंकि एक बैंक ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूट है जो कभी ख़त्म नहीं होता है. It's always working. Money is always being transferred, and it's very easy to go out there and get the money and deprive somebody of their property, their value, cause damage, and in some cases, as we saw in the video, आपको चोट भी लग सकती है because that's just the case. So we're going to go into it a little bit more detail. Captain, now you're on a commander level.
Yes.
So
yes.
you guys see a bigger picture of what's going on throughout the department, how these crimes are affecting the community, especially since you have the Mahatma Gandhi district. And
Yes.
you have a very close, you have a very huge part of the Pakistani Indian Desi community that's out here. And how does it affect your job? And how does it affect the community out here?
Well, it's a big challenge when you know that certain segment of your community are being targeted by criminals. It's just a very bad feeling. So one of the things I did when I first became a commander was that I had one of my officers tell me, hey, I'm willing to guarantee you there's somebody right now watching a bank and we can catch a person committing this crime. And I told him, I said, if you can, wow, that's an amazing challenge. If an officer can guarantee that he can catch a person watching a bank and committing the crime, I was like, wow, that's
Pretty interesting.
That's pretty interesting. So now I told him about my story that when I worked undercover, I said I also had a very high accuracy rate where people would actually follow me when they're catching them. So as a commander, to lead by example for the community that we care, then what we did was work an operation that I oversaw about jugging, and we ended up catching some really bad criminals. And he was actually what we call a big fish in the organization.
Okay.
And he ended up getting 7 years in jail, and that was definitely a success story. So what we do is for the community, as an organization, as a commander, we do regular presentations, and we regularly conduct these jugging operations.
Okay.
So that way we can catch these suspects. But here's the challenging part, is that it requires a lot of resources. Because, which we're going to talk about in the next segment after the next 15 minutes, which I'll go into a little bit more detail, but I'm just going to give you an overview, is that we do have challenges catching these guys because we have so many banks and we have limited resources. So we have to use good old-fashioned policing and investigation skills to stay top of this crime and catch them. The other thing I regularly do is I track these incidents,
Okay.
meaning how many did we have within my Pacific area.
Okay.
And then also, it also required me to educate my officers to properly identify these crimes, so that way we can take proper actions to catch these guys and deter
Well,
them.
so let's talk about the criminal element.
Yes.
The most important thing in this whole thing is the criminal element. So let's just run through what a
How about with
basic
this?
jugging-
You ready for this?
Sure.
Let's talk about their MO.
That's
So
what
let's
I
say-
was getting at, the method that they work.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's assume that I'm a customer and I go walk inside my bank, whatever the bank name is.
Okay.
So let's talk about that. Okay. So how did this? You have much more experience because you work these
I've worked with
operations.
investigators,
And what do? Sometimes they have somebody in the bank. We know that for sure. That's watching the customers, pretend like they're a customer, but they're actually watching you how much money you're taking out of the bank. That's called what, a stakeout person?
It's called a stakeout.
Stakeout.
It's also called plainclothes investigation.
Yes. And then the second thing is they'll have a car in the parking lot. Usually what I've seen is the car actually is not, normally we park forward in, but they usually back into the parking spot because they want to have a clear view of the parking, well, a clear view of the bank.
Okay.
And the third is dark tinted windows. They usually have rental cars. Many times I have seen that they have fake license plates or paper plates. So right away, this should be like telltale sign. When you walk out the bank, you should be aware of your situation and look for the cars, anything
So be
that's
aware of your
suspicious.
surroundings as you're coming
Absolutely.
out, and look around what's going on, the type
Yes.
of cars that you're seeing out there.
Right.
And that's basically.
I
what it
only had one time where actually the person left the bank and he felt like somebody was following him, and he started making some U-turns.
Okay.
And yep, they were following him. He called the police and we ended up catching them. They were juggers.
Okay, so
It's
he
only
was
one
able
time.
So he was able to actually pinpoint.
Yes.
He had enough awareness to see
Yeah.
somebody's coming out, looking at him, and
Yes.
want to make sure that he's safe.
Right.
And he ends up helping us out with it.
And second thing is just make sure these criminals, they also do what's called counter surveillance.
Okay. So they have counter surveillance.
Counter surveillance. Remember that video we just watched? How many cars did you see?
There were 2 cars in there.
2
Yeah.
cars. And because one may commit the crime, the other one's watching for the police or any kind of witnesses. So they work as teams.
Okay.
Now, just don't assume there's one car, one suspect. Actually, there's multiple.
Well, that's very interesting to know that they're doing this kind of situation and how they're working. But let's hold that thought.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and take a break, and then we'll be back right after this break.
321 Central traffic stop.
21.
I'll be on East Green right outside Henry County. 911 dispatch.
321 status.
321 Central traffic stop.
21.
I'll be on East Green right outside Henry County. 911 dispatch.
321 status.
Welcome, viewers. So before we went on break, we were talking about juggings, and we were actually talking about counter-surveillance. So for those that don't know, counter-surveillance is a police term which is used when we try to describe operations that are going against us in terms of surveillance. When it comes to jugging suspects, they go out there and they will have targets that will try to find us. So it's more of a cat and mouse game where they're trying to look at us, trying to see where we're sitting, and if we're in the bank parking lots looking for them, they decide to go to the next target. They don't want to get caught. It's natural when it happens to that, so that's what they want to do. Now, in terms of that, now that we've explained counter-surveillance, let's talk a little bit about why this crime happens so much. What's the reason? ऐसी वजह क्या है कि मतलब लोग वहाँ पे जा रहे हैं, आपको बैंक से फॉलो कर रहे हैं, कोई अपना टाइम लगा रहा है बैंक के पास बैठा हुआ है, और उसके बाद वो आपको फॉलो करता है to another bank at a location where you're eating, and then they break into your car, they attack you. What would you say is the reason from the command level?
Just like why anybody would commit a crime. It's risk versus the reward. So the risk is what for them? Wait a couple of minutes at a bank, and if they don't see a good customer, a good person they can target, they go to the next bank. They go to the next bank.
Okay.
But like I mentioned about the risk and reward, the reward is just like the video we watched, $75,000. That's in one day when people don't make that in a whole year.
That's true.
And then the risk is what? First, you have to get caught.
Absolutely.
And then the second is, okay, what would be the punishment if you do get caught?
Exactly, and that's another thing that's out here is the criminal justice system, how punishment works, and that's another thing. You're going to jail, you're going to have a bond, but the burglary of a motor vehicle, which is what it's called, when जब किसी गाड़ी में आप जाते हैं, criminal goes inside your car, in the state of Texas, it's considered a burglary of a motor vehicle. Now, unless you've been convicted of past burglary of motor vehicles, it's not a felony, or you're not going to see a whole lot of jail time.
मैं आपको एक बात बताता हूँ. हमारे जो community members हैं ना, sometimes they're very naive. They'll take बैंक में जाते हैं, इतना पैसा लेते हैं, गाड़ी में छोड़ के शॉपिंग करते हैं, कभी इस जगह जाते हैं, फिर इस जगह जाते हैं. उनको ये नहीं पता है कि वो कोई जना उसको फॉलो कर रहा है. जब वापस आते हैं उसमें क्योंकि गाड़ी में तोड़ के पैसे लेके चल जाता है. So, but when the person get caught, guess what are they getting caught with? Burglary, which is a misdemeanor, which is very light punishment, not much severe like a felony punishment, like a felony. So that's why whenever I talk about risk and reward, that's why the criminals, they want to engage in this more. But there are other issues why this crime is so prevalent. One thing is that is how do you identify this type of pattern, the crime? So, for example, Houston, yes, we were on the cutting edge. We identified this crime. We were one of the first ones to identify it and start targeting it. But what if the person goes to Houston, commits a crime in Houston, but they're followed all the way to another city, Sugar Land, or our neighboring cities, and then they commit that crime over there? So how would that city know it started here? So this goes back to information sharing. Now, we have done a phenomenal job identifying this crime and sharing information, and also about our suspects with other agencies around the city and also around the state, because these criminals, they go from city and also statewide. The other issue was the criminal justice system. We have done a much better job now as compared to before, because now the community is tired of this crime being targeted. The district attorney office, they have picked a special district attorney who handles specifically these kind of cases. Why? Because most of these criminals are gang members. You know, like for example, yes, they work gang members, and what do gangs do? They engage in criminal activity. So now these gang members who work together to commit this crime and take the money and they give it back to their gangs. And of course, now you have a criminal enterprise, criminal element. and that's continued to grow and cause more crime and cause more violence in our community. So that's something we need to stop.
Yeah, and there's a very simple thing as well, is that for most of these guys, it doesn't take more than 10 seconds to be inside and outside the car. It's remarkably easy for them to be able to get inside the vehicle, defeat the vehicle in what way, and get inside and get money or whatever belongings you've left inside the car. But it's good to know that the department has stepped up to it.
Absolutely.
They've accepted the challenge because, I mean, as the viewers may not know, but here in Houston, we have a very large gang presence. We have over 15,000 documented gang members, and it's growing every day. So that's something that the department follows up on a daily basis and wants to make sure that's happening. On top of that, the county justice system is now working, and they've assigned a special DA to make sure that we prosecute them to the biggest level. But another thing we do have to look at is when it comes to why the crime is happening, and why the crime is happening to, especially to Pakistanis, Indians. That's something that, on a command level, what do you see as, why would they target specifically Pakistanis, Indians, Asians, when they're going to these banks?
For a couple of things is, we still do a lot of things old-fashioned way. Some of our business owners, they do their business transaction in cash. Okay. Because I'm sure they get special discounts, special rates. So that's why one of the things is to do things do the transaction in cash. And the criminals, they know that, and that's why they're followed and they're continuing to commit this crime. The other reason why the Asians, the Pakistani Indians, the Vietnamese, the Chinese, especially females, to go after the females because they don't fight back. Now, this video that we saw earlier, the couple of things that was very unique. First, unique was this video was very long. Usually the crime happens very fast and they're gone.
They're gone, yeah, within 10 to 15
and
seconds.
And second, these citizens, they put up a big fight.
Yeah.
They put up a big fight. And that's very unique as well, because usually they come up with a weapon, they point the weapon, take their money, and then go. Okay. It happens very quickly.
So when we're coming back to the video, just to give the viewers an update on what happened in the video, there was an investigation conducted by Harris County Precinct 4 for this video. It was found out that the couple that was attacked are actually check cashing owners. They own a check cashing place. And they were attacked because an employee inside the bank told the guys outside, the guys in the different cars, that a customer had just made a very large withdrawal. And Harris County Precinct 4 did a phenomenal job of completing a thorough investigation and were able to apprehend everybody that was involved. So jo bhi isme involved tha sare pakde gaye. The owners are perfectly fine. They did suffer injuries, but they were able to make a full recovery. So that's actually a good thing. So there is a happy ending to at least this video.
Yes.
But I'm assuming what we just got done with the holiday season.
Right.
And the holiday season is stressful for people. A lot of money is changing hands, and a lot of this crime is taking place, and it's going unreported. That's one of the
underreporting is always an issue, and it concerns me deeply. Because if it's underreporting, then I'm assuming that the crime is not occurring, when in fact it is occurring.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I cannot come up with a comprehensive plan how to address this problem, and how often I should address this problem.
So again, this isn't a patrol or a street level question, so that's why I wanted to ask you since you're here. When it comes to underreporting, what kind of impact does it have?
It has a big impact, huge impact, because I may be thinking my crime is going down, and the numbers may tell me the crime is going down, but something else is happening where actually the crime is high, but it's not being reported properly. And then what happens is that my resources are not being utilized properly, and there's some segment of the community, they're being affected by it. One, I'll give you a perfect example. The Hispanic community. Some people, they're illegal immigrants, and the criminals, they take advantage of that by, when they commit a crime, telling you, hey, the police is going to deport you, or don't report the crime, and those people are actually become victimized, and then they're not reporting it, so we don't know how to address it. And those criminals, they take advantage of, exploit the population. That's why it's very problematic. So I encourage all the viewers, even if your car is broken into, please report it. Because what happens is sometimes the criminals, they actually will confess to your crime.
and
It
we
happens
won't
many
even know.
times.
Yeah, absolutely. It happened a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
to-
it
to
happens
us,
all the
so-
time. And then we're like, well, there's no report.
Yeah.
Or they'll have your property in their possession. We end up arresting them.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we get your property back?
Yeah, that's
When there's
another
no
thing.
report.
So let's go through that was just one of the causes of underreporting. The biggest one is the threat of the legal system coming back on the
Yes.
complainant, which we know that the Houston Police Department, when you call us for a complaint, we're going to treat it like it's a complaint.
Right.
We're not going to go beyond that. If you're asking for our help, we're going to give you our help. So that's one of the causes for underreporting. What else could be there, especially with the Desi community, the Asians? Why aren't they reporting other than the fact
Maybe
of
sometimes, maybe they're not aware of it. Maybe they don't have the confidence in us, the trust, hey, the police can solve this crime. And that's something I just want to let all of you know, that every single crime, we take it seriously. Yes, we may not give it full investigation attention because we don't have leads, but that does not mean your case is not important to us. And sometimes we do come back to the same case after a while once we have more leads.
And that's why we have why we're coming to you now. That's why we've started this show. We're trying to bridge this connection so stuff like this doesn't happen. We want you to come to us for help, and we want to be able to help you. But that starts with us helping you, help us help you. So if you give us the chance, we'll do our best to bring the results.
Now,
to
one
you.
more thing. Remember I talked about risk versus reward?
Absolutely.
Here's just a quick case study about these criminals, Jamarcus Wilson and Alton Brown.
Okay.
Just look at how often they committed a crime, they go to jails, and they get bonded out, and they go back committing the same drugging offense again, because they know that they're gonna, because it's lucrative business, cash. So this is just a prime example how often these criminals go out and commit the crime, and we catch them. What's amazing to me is actually we end up catching these guys over and over again, which I know as a commander, as an officer, how it's not easy catching these guys.
That's true. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort.
lot of resources,
We recently had one in Montgomery County who got 45 years for multiple druggings. Montgomery County was not nice to him in that case. And then Jamarcus Wilson is actually a well-known name throughout half of the department because he's been arrested so many times that we've known, hey, this guy goes out there, he commits these crimes, and then gets picked up and goes out there again and
goes out again. But 7 years, he'll have plenty of time to think about that now.
So now he's got 7 years for
which
his
is, I think, is
crime.
very generous. They should have been much more.
Okay.
They should have gotten much more stiffer penalties
Well,
than
at
that.
least that's one person that's less because we consider drugging to be a predatory crime. You're being followed, you're being stalked. I know that a lot of people that I've talked to when we've had to done reports felt that their privacy was invaded from the fact that they were followed to the fact that their cars got broken into, their houses got broken into for money. So the department's stepping up.
Yes, one more thing. We're doing one more extra thing is like when you have a crime like that, I know the community has been very vocal, and the department also, the legislative, where they're trying to also add another law, predatory theft.
Okay.
That means if somebody like jugging, they followed you to commit a crime, then they can consider it predatory theft, and which means it'd be higher punishment.
Okay, and that's something important, right?
Yes, it is.
We want the legislature, especially to be able to look at a crime and recognize and say, hey, this is new.
This is new, yes.
Unfortunately, it started in Houston and has expanded to where nationwide we have criminals going here from Houston committing crimes, and then other people picking up on the crime itself. It's easy to commit, unfortunately. So now they're going out there doing this, and the legislator is finally going up and saying, hey, we're going to make the change because they know, hey, we need to make this change and let the community know that we're trying to keep them safe.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And
So let's go on to the part. Now we've discussed the crime, we've discussed the criminal element. Let's start going into what do we do now? How do we help the community stay safe? Let's start going into that thing because it's very important. I know the viewers are looking at this and going, okay, well, everybody that's seen the video is going to look at it and say, oh, that's a horrendous crime. That could happen to me. That could happen to you. That could happen to anybody. How do we keep the viewers safe? So let's start going through that thing. So what's the first thing that we need to look at when we want the viewers to stay safe?
it doesn't matter if it's jugging or BMVs. Number one is situational awareness. Okay, sometimes we think that I'm a good person, I cannot become a victim.
Absolutely.
But that mindset has to be changed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass a buck to you. Can you explain to the viewers about the victimization,
Absolutely.
victim triangle,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I'll
So-
touch upon that.
So when it comes to the criminal element, a lot of times victims look up and they see and they don't even know that they're being targeted. Especially when it comes to a crime like jugging, as soon as you exit the bank, they've already seen you, they've already sized you. And from my experience being in the field and actually working these investigations, it just doesn't matter. They're not looking for a specific type. There's no science behind it. They're not going to choose one specific person and keep hitting it. They choose people because they see that that is somebody that they can work, that they can easily attack, and that's what they do. You have to be aware of your surroundings when it comes to this. You have to come out. A lot of times, we've personally seen it. People coming out with a bank bag in their hand and just walking to their cars, and it's highly visible. You have to be careful with how you do something like that. It's very important to make sure that you conceal your stuff. And the first thing to not being a victim is exactly that. Don't be a victim, which means don't put yourself in that situation. And try your best to keep yourself as safeguard as possible, because everybody goes to the bank. We don't want you to look at it and feel, hey, I'm not safe because I don't want to go to the bank, or I'm not scared. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise your awareness. And when it comes to us, it's not just the police officers, but we would want everybody to be able to take care of themselves. But more on that, please stick around. We're going to take a little break, and then we'll be right back.
321 Central traffic stop.
21.
I'll be on East Green right outside Henry County. 911 dispatch.
321 status.
321 Central traffic stop.
21.
I'll be on East Green right outside Henry County. 911 dispatch.
321 status.
And welcome back, viewers. So before we went to the break, we were talking about the victim aspect of a crime. So let's go through the victim triangle.
Right.
So how does it start? I know that the triangle is basically victims, suspects, and opportunity. So let's go a little bit into it. We've got
Okay.
the victims as the community. We've got the suspects that are guys that are going outside, and then we have the opportunity.
Right. For the viewers, if you can just mentally imagine there's a triangle. You on the left side, you can put down suspect. On the right, you can put location, and on the bottom, you can put opportunity. In order for a crime to occur, these three things have to be met.
Okay.
Let's look at the suspect. The suspect could be, the one who's going to commit the crime.
Yeah.
As law enforcement officers, we would love to prevent crime before it occurs.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we do our best to catch these individuals. We also monitor our, I guess, what's that called? The word I'm looking for is the violent offenders who regularly commit crime.
Habituals.
Habitual criminals. Our gangs, we monitor our gangs because we know what kind of activities they're engaged in. And we share intelligence on our suspects, because today they're our suspect, but tomorrow they can be your suspect in different cities or different areas within the city of Houston.
Absolutely.
Location. The second thing is location. If the location is prone to crime, the crime is going to occur. Just like the broken window theory. In our law enforcement profession, the one thing every officer knows, or we discuss, is broken window theory, which states if there's a neighborhood, if there's a house, and the window is broken, and nobody cares about the window being repaired, that's telling the criminals, or the criminal element, the person does not care about this house.
Okay to
It's okay. So next you know, the window will be broken, and slowly there will be graffiti, and then the homeless, the prostitutes, they'll slowly start coming in, start doing drugs, and they'll take over that whole house. Eventually, it will begin to spread, and the whole, now that you have a house, now you have a block being taken over by criminal element. So that's how it usually begins, is when people stop caring.
Okay.
So location, we try our best to make this location safe by target hardening. Either you can use cameras, fences. We also have what's called crime prevention through environmental design.
Yeah, so target hardening. Target hardening
yeah.
is another police term that we commonly use because it's used to take a location and harden it. When we say harden it, which means we are trying to make that location as secure as possible through elements that are other than the police. So we're talking about security cameras, we're talking about security guards, we're talking about environmental design, and by environmental design we'll go into fences, we'll go into locked
Yeah.
gates, restricted pathways. These are different ways to isolate the issue so we can control the situation better.
So you're making it difficult for the criminals to commit that crime because now he will think twice before committing the crime.
So next we go to the opportunity. So
Opportunity.
the most important thing.
This is where we need your help because now you may be contributing to that crime being committed. I'm not saying that you should be blamed for it, but no, as citizens, there's something we can do so that way we don't become victims. So this is where we need your help, and this is where we're going to take a moment to educate you what you can or should do whenever you go into the bank, or even just your basic situational awareness, such as not leave, cell phone or items plain view in your vehicle, because somebody's going to look at it and
Like
somebody
we were
wants it.
discussing before the break, when people come out of the bank, they'll have their bank bags in their hand. It's going to be openly visible,
Yes.
and it's just because it's not in your mind. It's not. You're not thinking about being a victim that day. It's not
Right.
something wrong. It's just you're heading out of the bank, and you've got your bank bag. You're just going to go in and toss it into your car or shove it between the seat. Sometimes you're on their phone, you're talking, and you're so distracted by it that you just, and that's where the opportunity comes.
Right.
So let's go further beyond that, beyond the victim triangle. So now, as a community, where can we go from here? How can we work with this whole situation?
Couple of things is, of course, we need to pass this message on to all of the, the community members. So how do you do that? One is, of course, social media. We have Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah.
Very easy, plus you have Watch TV.
Yes, you have Watch TV
You
now.
Watch
so-
TV now, where we pass the information to all the community members, because let's just be realistic. Crime that happens in Houston does not mean it stays in Houston.
It travels.
So it travels. So if you're living in another city, like for example Orlando or New York, Chicago, you're gonna have similar crime being committed in that area as well.
And then it's important to know what your crime trends are in your part of town. Jugging is one of the crime trends, and there's another one, sliding, which is similar to jugging.
If you don't mind, can I just finish the?
Absolutely,
Okay. So
absolutely.
the other thing was attend regular HPD, Houston Police, or wherever you may be. Attend the regular community meetings, because you'd be surprised what kind of information you'll learn.
Okay.
All police departments, they provide data on what kind of crimes that are occurring in your neighborhood or even in your city, and you should be aware of what's going on. Also, if you ever want the police to come and do a presentation in the community center, we have public affairs
Absolutely.
office, or even your local police station. We'd be more than happy to do something, work with you in your community to do a
And
presentation.
the Houston Police Department regularly puts out briefs. We've had countless briefs on jugging. We actually, if you go to the department's social media pages, you'll see that we've actually got videos, and we've actually we caught the suspects, and we've done a lot with that.
I personally have done I've done a presentation about jugging at Vietnamese Community Center.
Okay.
I have done a presentation at front of the chief, front of my command staff, identifying the problem with jugging in my district, and what needs to be done about it, because I needed additional resources to catch these
And that's one of the
suspects.
biggest things is, at the end of the day, it does come down to resources.
Absolutely.
The more we have, the more we can help with. But we're target hardening the community
Yes.
right now by explaining to them, by giving
Right.
them the situation. So as I was talking before that, we were discussing, there's also sliding.
Yes,
that we
sliding,
have, which
yes.
is- Sliding is similar to jugging. It's not the exact same thing. But in sliding, what normally happens is they will, well, not normally, but what happens is they'll come up to your car while you're loading groceries at a grocery store, or you're at a gas station pumping your gas, and most of our cars are unlocked at that time. So they'll come in from the other side, go inside, grab your wallet or your purse, and run off with it. But that's not jugging though. No, it's not a jugging. It's still, at the end of the day, it's just a sliding. And we need to know about these trends, because I was very surprised finding out that a lot of the Indo-Pak community was being a victim of this crime, and they just never realized it. So one thing that we would like from the community in this case would be that if you are coming from a bank, and if you are the unfortunate victim of this crime, when you do your report, please emphasize on letting the police officer know that you were coming from a bank, because without that information can make or break a case, can even change the entire
Yeah.
way the crime is
It will be
investigated.
investigated, yes.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a couple of minutes. As if you don't say, "Hey, I'm coming from a bank," what happens to the report itself? What happens to the entire thing?
The officer will come and he will do the report. It will be just be a regular, burglary motor vehicle, and they look for any kind of evidence, and the case will go to investigation division, and just let the viewers know that BMVs is the most common property crime, probably number one
Absolutely.
property crime.
Absolutely, throughout the country.
Throughout the country, BMV is even my car was broken into. They didn't take anything; they just broke the window. And I didn't have anything in plain sight, but they still broke into
wanted
my
to go
car.
inside and see what they could
what
store
they
inside.
could find. They couldn't find nothing.
Yeah, so it's very important for the crime to be reported properly, because then it goes to the proper person. Me being the part of the team, we work this, and the only way we would be able to investigate these crimes is when we would find out, hey, this was actually coming from a bank, because then we can go back and start, because that opens up the field for us. 'Cause
Right.
then we can go back and look at the videos and
Yes.
do a lot of stuff.
So what happens is, let's say, for example, regular BMV, but then you have BMV/jugging, and then over a period of time, I can say to my crime analysis person, can you please pull out all the BMVs with jugging incidents? Okay, for example, we had 10. Now I'll go in there and ask them, find out how much money did the suspect get away with, add all the money that the complainants had, the victims had. And you'd be surprised, these criminals, sometimes they get away with, like, in a year, just my area, $250,000 in cash. Once you start
Wow.
adding the numbers up,
Wow.
imagine if they're going all over the other part of the city. That's why.
This is a full-time job for
It's
somebody
a full-time
out there.
job. This is the full-time job. So this is why we're here for the community, is when you're going to do anything with cash, be mindful that you may be followed.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. So if you need to reach out to us, the Houston Police Department, we have our numbers. You can even come down to the Midwest Station, and we can definitely do it. But at the end of the day, let's recap a little bit on the whole thing.
You didn't finish it. You didn't finish about the sliding. You started it, but
Yes.
you didn't
So
finish.
before we go back, so the sliding. Yeah. So basically, it's when they go inside your car and they'll take your purse or they'll take your wallet and they'll leave off with it. Sliders are generally non-violent, not as the video that you had seen where the jugging happened. So that's something. And again, we still need to know, because that again changes the dynamic of the way the report's done, the way that it is investigated, because sliding is another different kind of crime. It's just similar, because a lot of times it does happen. People confuse it and say, hey, some people do know from the HPD's presentations that, hey, there's something called the jugging that's out there. Hey, a jugging happened. They took my purse while I was loading my car with my groceries, and that's not the case. It's a different kind of crime. Jugging is a far more advanced crime. It is a lot more easier to commit, unfortunately. It yields a large amount of money at the same amount of time. And as of right now, the criminal justice system is working its way to making it a harsher crime, which is lucrative to the criminal.
And we're when we continuously put a dent in their operations. So we're going after jugging. We're going, now we're doing a better job intelligence. Now we have a district attorney who's on board with us. So the prosecuting, getting harsher punishment for these criminals. So we turned the page on them now.
Yeah.
But it just took a little bit of time for us to get organized,
It's
identifying
rising up to the challenge. But
absolutely.
as we've said throughout the program, please contact us. Let us know the specifics. Try to be safer when you're out there, and that makes it easier for us to protect you. As the Indo-Pac community, Vietnamese, Chinese, Asians, Southeast Asians in general, are being targeted by malevolent forces, to be honest, when they're trying to go out there and take this money, damage property, hurt people. And that's I mean, that at one point, let's go back to your district. At one point, you actually had a meeting with the community because it had become such an epidemic that people didn't want to go to the shopping strips anymore. They wanted to just stay out of it.
Yes. But like I said, I worked several operations to catch these guys because I want to bring it to the community attention that your grievances, your concerns are not overlooked, that we do take them seriously. And I led by example and end up catching these individuals.
Yeah, so we do have plans in action.
Yes, we do have a plan, and we share information. We have a better relationship than before, because we communicate whatever the issues they have. They bring it to my attention, and then I constantly start working on those problems.
And we will have links with the banks themselves, because that's
Yes.
another thing that I'm sure somebody sitting out there was like, hey, they haven't spoken about the bank. Like, do they even tell the bank?
Yes.
And we do. We do talk to the banks. We have close relationship with banks. Even in fact, this crime is so prevalent now that banks have made task force within themselves, within their investigation areas, to investigate this, and they'll contact directly the department where the case has taken place, so that they can transfer video, surveillance, any sort of information that they have. And that's actually how Precinct 4 was able to, through information and in collaboration with the bank, they were able to find out, hey, this person that these guys that attacked this couple are actually part of a larger ring, because most of the times it's more than a one-person job.
Right.
So that's something that we have to look at. And we're here because we want to make sure the community is safe, and we're working towards it. But as we begin wrapping up, Captain, any words when it comes to the crime, to jugging itself? Any last words on the whole thing and towards the community?
No, I just want to say thank you. The reason why we started doing this show is because we wanted to educate the South Asian community of the crimes that affects them the most, and especially this crime about jugging. You're affected by it because the criminals, they're targeting the Pakistani, the Indians, the Vietnamese, the Middle Eastern community, because they know they deal their business in cash, and they make an easy target.
Yeah.
So please be careful when you're out there and going to the bank, and also be aware of your surroundings, and make sure you when you're driving that nobody's following you.
Yeah, and as I said before, please allow us to help you. Please, our numbers are going to be on the screen. Contact us, give us the proper information. We will try to do the best that we can. Please be safe. Be more vigilant of the surroundings. Be more vigilant of the areas that, if you see something, give us a call. We don't mind coming out there and looking at whatever you think is suspicious or anything that's bothering you, because that's our job. It's what we do, and it's very important. Ladies and gentlemen, we really appreciate the time. Please tune in next time, and we'll see you with another topic next time when we come around. Thank you so much.
321 Central traffic stop.
21.
I'll be on East Green, right outside Henry County. 911 dispatch.
321 status.